In this video, we will present to you how to ask a question. In general, you must follow the QW-ASVO rule. In this case, QW is the question word. Here is a list of them, but before using them, you must know that each of them is used for a specific goal. The question word what is used if the answer to the question is a thing or an activity. Where is used if the answer is a location. When is used if the answer is a general or a specific time. Why is used if the answer is a reason. How is used if the answer is an explanation. Who is used if the answer is a person. Which is used if the answer is a thing or a person out of many things or people. For the auxiliary, you have two choices, to be or to do. You must use one of the two, or you can just simply remove it out of the question. For the subject, the verb, and the object, it is up to you to decide. Let us look at some examples with the auxiliary to do. What do you do in your spare time? How do you play basketball? Where do you live? In this case, the first example, what would be the question word, do would be the auxiliary, you would be the subject, do would be the verb, and in your spare time would be the object. And the second example, how would be the question word, do would be the auxiliary, you would be the subject, play would be the verb, and basketball would be the object. And the third example, where would be the question word, do would be the auxiliary, you would be the subject, and live would be the verb. In this specific example, we do not add an object since in this case the question is complete. Let us look at some examples with the auxiliary to be. Who are you? Why is art a good thing? When are you going to school? In the first example, who would be the question word, are would be the auxiliary to be, and you would be the subject. In this case, the first example is complete, and we do not need to add neither a verb and neither an object. In the second example, why would be the question word, is would be the auxiliary to be, art would be the subject, and a good thing would be the object. In the third example, when would be the question word, are would be the auxiliary to be, you would be the subject, going would be the verb, to school would be the object. However, as you can see in these examples, there are exceptions. Let us look at some additional rules. If you are using the auxiliary to be, and it is also the main verb, no other verb is necessary. For example, how are you today? In this case, we do not need to add the auxiliary to be, because the verb are is the simple present of the verb to be, so the example is complete. If you are using to be as an auxiliary, the verb will be in the present participle form. So you put the verb in the standard form and you add ing at the end. In this example, why is Charles working late today? In this case, the verb is the auxiliary to be, and the verb working would be to work plus ing, giving in the end, working. If you are using the auxiliary to do, the main verb is in the base form. In this example, where does Charles live? The question word would be where, the auxiliary would be does, Charles would be the subject, and live is the verb in the base form. Do you speak English? In this case, we do not need to put a question word since the question is complete. However, do is the auxiliary, you is the subject, speak is the verb in the base form, and English would be the object. If you are using a modal verb, such as can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, or would, as the auxiliary, the main verb is in the base form. For example, what could I do to help Charles? In this case, the question word would be what. Could is the modal verb, I would be the subject, do would be the verb, and to help Charles would be the object. Can I learn English easily? In this case, we replace the question word with the modal verb can. I would be the subject, learn would be the verb, and English easily would be the object. With this knowledge, you are now able to ask a question in English.